Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. It's Ed. I just wanted to do this video because I did get some pushback from my unboxing and first impressions video on the Books Go 6 Gen 2. And primarily it's because I spent a lot of time talking about both in my blog post and in the lead up and the release announcement about this being primarily a reader. And then when I got the device, of course, I was in a hurry to get the unboxing done and get that out to you as soon as possible because I know that I'm one of the first reviews out there. I know Kit came out with one shortly after, but I wanted to get the device out and show you what it did. And what I didn't have time to do was load my books on it. So I didn't have time to load Kindle, load Kobo, and all of those other things. So I spent more time on the writing aspect. And while I think that's important, and I think for someone who wants to jot down quick notes or have another device that's very travel friendly, that was still a very valuable thing. And hopefully you all did find it valuable. But I did have some people asking me, Ed, you didn't really talk about the reading experience. And they're right. So we're going to rectify that tonight. We're going to go ahead and we're going to take a look at what this device looks like compared to several other devices and what you might want to choose as your best reader. So we're going to jump on in. We'll start with Kindle and look at devices that have Kindle on board, and then we will look at a Kobo comparison. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and jump on into it, and I will see you here in a second. Here we are with 4 devices, and I've deliberately gone from largest to smallest just to show you what this might look like for reading on these devices. And these are all the same books. So this is the Mel Brooks book that is one of my favorite books that eventually I will read all of. I own both the hard copy that Trey bought me and I own it on Kindle. And it's one that I am really trying to finish, although I've been reading the library book and some other things right now. I'm trying to finish this before the new Spaceballs movie comes out at the end of the year because Mel Brooks is one of my favorite directors and screenwriters, and he's just a comedic talent. So this is the MobiScribe Wave, and most of you know that I bought the MobiScribe with the intention of making it a dedicated e-reader across devices with a front light for when I did need that. Here you have the Supernote Nomad, which is slightly smaller. So you have an 8.2-inch screen, you have a 7.8-inch screen, then you have the Books Palma, which is slightly over 6 inches. And what you'll notice that stands out immediately is just how dark the screen is, even in well-lit conditions, and it's even darker to my naked eye here on the Palma 2 Pro. So in order to make this a fair comparison for how you would actually use the device, I am going to turn the front light here up just a little bit to my custom setting that I would normally read on. And now we'll go ahead and we'll jump back over into the book. So now you can see it doesn't quite level it. I didn't pump the brightness up all the way because I could have taken it way up and made it even wider than everything here, but I wanted to give it a pretty fair comparison on how I would actually use it. Let's go ahead and take a look real quick. I've got them on the same page. Now the paging is going to be a little bit different because they're all different size devices. You'll see there is less text here. I tried to get the font somewhat consistent, but it's really impossible to do on these devices just because of how it's rendering, how the margins are set, how they present on the screen. You'll notice there's a lot more margin here, but I couldn't really get that to reduce in a way that I wanted it to. So just trying to show you a little bit as far as how fast the devices move, how snappy they are, the image quality. I personally like the image quality on the new Go 6 Gen 2 a lot. I think they all do a good job at rendering the images. I think the Nomad does an excellent job, but there's no front light. So the main difference between the 4 of these is one does not have a front light. But let's go ahead and we'll go through and you can just see how fast this moves. I hit it on the side there a little bit. How quickly that moves on the Go 6 Gen 2. So we get back to where we started, and it does a really good job at handling the ghosting as well. And if you look at the Palma, it moves very fast too. So it's pretty snappy. And it actually missed a touch there. Then we'll do the same thing on the Nomad, and you'll see when it moves, It flashes a little bit only because there was an image on the screen, but then it is very snappy coming back and it works really well. And then, of course, it's going to do that little bit of flash when there's an image just to go ahead and make that look a little better. And then we'll do that on the MobiScribe. And you're going to notice on the MobiScribe, it really does not handle Kindle well. I've got page animations turned off on all of these, and yet you can see the MobiScribe occasionally doing really well and then seeming to glitch out and have a lot of trouble. And that's been my biggest problem with it as a reader. It isn't the clarity of the text. It isn't the image quality. It's the sluggishness of this device. So as a reader, as a dedicated reader, I've quit using it for that reason, and I've been mostly using the Palma 2 Pro. So the reason being that even though the form factor is a little bit harder for me to get my head around, it works better. What it doesn't do is you have that CFA layer, which you can see, especially in low light conditions. It's going to be pretty hard to see. Let me try and bring it up to the camera here. It's going to be pretty hard to see on the camera, but maybe if I turn it, you can see it a little bit. But the text clarity is good, but it's a little bit fuzzier than if I bring up the Go 6 Gen 2. And you can just see how clear that text is. Absolutely gorgeous. And then we'll do the same thing with the Nomad here as well. We'll bring it up, and you can just see how clear that text is. And we'll also do that with the Wave. So let's go ahead and pull it up. And now I'm shuffling these all over the place. And you can see the text looks really good. I don't think it looks as good as it does on the Nomad, but I think if you were reading with any of these devices, you would be pleased with the way that they look. The issue, the big issue for me, is how do they refresh? You know, how do they handle images? How do they shift pages? I press both of these at the same time. It's almost the same. And remember, this has more RAM in it and a more powerful processor and a newer version of Android. If you look at the comparison with the Nomad, watch how it works. The Nomad is a little bit slower and it still has more RAM, but it's taking a little bit more time to turn that page. Now, again, it is a bigger screen. You're getting more text on the screen. It's not sluggish by any stretch, but it definitely is not as snappy as the Book's Go 6 is. And then let's do that over here with the MobiScribe, which we already know what this is going to look like, but we'll do it anyway. You press it and just look at that horrible animation and page turn. It's just not good. And I don't know why it's like that. It blurs that up and it's so distracting when you're trying to read. And I just really don't understand it. So let's go ahead and we'll jump over real quick. I wanted to show you this. I wanted to show you all of these on Kindle. Hopefully that helped you see that why I prefer this size, because of the fact that I can't get used to this. I can't get used to holding this in my hand this way and having to look through that color filter array. It's not bad. I'll use it in a pinch, but comparatively, when I hold something like this that's so light and is so well made and actually is as snappy as the other one and got this beautiful color to it, I'm really enjoying reading on this specific device. So just throwing that out there. So let's go ahead. We'll jump over and we'll look at what this device is actually replacing and talk about it. All right. So here we are now with the Kobo Aura 1. And you all know that I absolutely love this device. Have used it for a long time and just really, really like it. And then you go over here and you can see a much smaller device. So I'm used to this size. And then you get the much smaller device here. But at the same time, you get to see the difference a little bit with using the native ecosystem. So I use this as my Kindle comparison because of the fact I don't own a Kindle anymore. I haven't had a Kindle in years. And Kobo is a very close competitor with Kindle, and I enjoy their readers very much, especially their deep integration with Overdrive and Libby, because you don't have to do the push to Kindle and all that other stuff. You can be looking at a book, and if it's available through your public library, which is integrated on your device, you can just hit the borrow button and you now have that book. To me, that's fabulous. It's one of my favorite things. You don't get quite that seamless experience by using it on here. You still have to purchase, or you would have to sideload, or there'd have to be another way to do that. But anything you have in the Kobo app available is going to be here. But again, you can just see the difference. And this is an older device. I've had this device for a long time. So what we're going to do is I'm going to pull this up and try and get it in there really close. I'll try not to get the shadows here. My overhead camera is giving me a little bit of trouble there. You can see it, unfortunately, right here on the side. But let's go up and try and get a close-up on Thomas Jefferson's face there. So you can see that, and I'll also zoom in. Matter of fact, that's what I'll do, is I'll zoom in post as well. But I'm going to pull this one up real quick. And I don't know if you can tell on camera, but it's really easy to see. There's a lot more detail around the face and around the hair. You can really see the difference with the new screen. And I think that's one thing that's kind of cool. Now, other than that, you can see there's a margin issue. I tried, and this is on the cover. You can, for some reason, the covers, because this is a Kobo device, they go full screen and they look really nice. So let's go ahead and try this again so it's a fair comparison between the two. So we'll go 1, 2, 3, and you'll still see that it is slower. This one's taking a little bit more time to move. And that's with the refresh. That was an actual refresh there, but that's with the refresh off. And you'll see that this one's just faster. And that's a testament to it. Now let's look at the actual word quality here. And you can see that looks really, really good. And we talked about that before. Now let's go ahead and bring this one up. And you'll see it's still a very good rendering of the text. I think that this is a brighter screen. I have the front light off on both of them. This one's definitely brighter. I can see the higher contrast, but they're both very good screens. To me, this is a competitor because, again, Kobo's going to have advantages. I already talked about the library and the Overdrive integration. That's a big deal. But the fact that I can read Kindle, Nook, I can borrow directly from Libby, I can do pretty much anything I want to on this device as far as reading goes, is a game changer for me as a reader. I'm not locked into one ecosystem. The only concern I have, and I've mentioned it before, is the idea that if they end support for Android 11 devices, this could become an issue here. But the same size reader from Kobo and from Kindle is not much less expensive than this. In my blog article, I talk about how close it is. It's within $25 to $30 from a Kindle. And on a Kindle, you don't get any other reading apps. On a Kobo, you don't get any other reading apps. So the idea that you have all of that access, even with the Supernote, you could sideload and get your reading apps, but then you don't have the front light, the lightness of this device. And quite frankly, the speed on this device is slightly better than the Supernote. Now, Supernote isn't meant to be a reader. This is a reader. This is a reader. A Kindle is a reader. Yes, this has pen support. So you now have pen support and a reader that can read on multiple platforms apps for $25 to $30 more in some cases. And in some cases, I believe on the Clara, the new Clara black and white, I think these are almost the same price. So quite frankly, to me, this little device so far is a no-brainer. I'm going to keep reading with it. I'm going to keep looking at it over the next couple of weeks. I'm also going to test more the writing functionality from just a jotting down things perspective. But right now, still very favorable. And hopefully this little reading demonstration and showing some different images and text and some other things has helped you to kind of better understand why I wanted to get the device in the first place. But let's go ahead and hop back over. All right, everybody, thanks for hanging in there. And I really appreciate both the person who called me out to have me really go through this device and talk a little bit more about the reading capabilities versus just talking about kind of the most unique feature of it from a small reader perspective, which is that note-taking ability. And I think that once you take a look at this device as a reader first, not just something that can do multiple things, but as a reader, it really begins to bring into focus why you might use it over a device such as the Aura One. Now, the Aura One is bigger. It's got a bigger screen. It's got more real estate. It feels more like a medium-sized book. And I think that can be really comforting and be a really good experience. I still love this device. One thing about it I didn't mention in the demo is that this is waterproof. So this is meant to be able to be taken anywhere. And so the idea that if you were to accidentally drop this in the pool or something, you wouldn't necessarily have it go bad because it's a very secure device. Whereas I don't see that mentioned anywhere about this little device. So I'd be careful. Again, I don't generally drop my devices or have any issues with them. I'm very careful with them. But at the same time, this little package here gives you a really good form factor to read in. And I like the buttons on the Palma 2 Pro, but they're a little too sensitive and sometimes they get accidental page turns. And I don't mind having to press on the page because it's very fast and even the swipes are excellent on this. So just a really good experience overall so far. And I definitely prefer that wider screen instead of longer screen just because of my own user preference. So again, let me know what you think in the comments. Drop your opinion down below. Let me know if I'm way off base here, if you think that this is too expensive for what it is. Frankly, I think it's competitively priced against both Kindle and Kobo. You're losing no matter what you get into from the actual ecosystem devices because it's their hardware. It's like buying an Apple and expecting the software from another manufacturer to work better than the native Apple software. That's just not a thing. So here you're going to have the same type of experience. The Kindle and Kobo apps, though, are exceptional. And I think it's a valid trade-off to be able to have a reader that is cross-platform. This way, I can dabble. I don't have any books on Nook, but who knows, if Barnes & Noble runs a huge sale, I can buy books and have them on Nook and then bring them to this device. I think that's fabulous. I like that I can go to Libby, and if I, for some reason, can't use either the Send to Kindle function for some reason or the Kobo integrated workflow, I can still read on the Libby app. And the Libby reader is not bad. I mean, it doesn't have all of the same features and bells and whistles that you get out of these other devices, but it's still perfectly capable. So anyway, thank you all so much. Thank you for your support. Thank you for watching my videos, using my affiliate links. Feel free to support the channel that way. And also let me know what you think about the brand refresh. I've done some new things. I've added in some different branding and with the wonderful help of my wife, Melissa, and a little bit of AI help, just because I am not a graphic designer. So let me know what you think about that. And until next time, keep moving forward and I will talk to you soon. Bye now.